Zen fam! So, one of my friends, Mark Goes Blind Gaming, a fellow YouTuber, someone I think some of you have heard me speak of in the past. In fact, I nominated him when it was my turn to be YouTuber of the Month. He was one of my 5 nominations. He's a good YouTuber, look him out. Funny guy. Anyway, Mark did a little VR, which is a video response for those of you who are not in tune with YouTube speak. And Mark had basically seen a video by another YouTuber who'd set this original challenge by the name of, hang on, let me get this right because I want to make sure I correctly say the person's name. David Retro Games Played Badly. So David Retro Games Played Badly set up this original video. Mark did his response. So I'm responding to both of those gentlemen. Are you with me so far? Of course you are. You're Zen fam. You're tippity top. You're on balance. Anyway, so the question was asked, what was your first gaming experience? Now, for some of you older members of the Zen fam, you may have heard me tell this story before. But you may have missed it, even in all the 10 years, and some of you have been with me that long, and I thank you very much for that. My first gaming experience. Now, I'm not exactly sure what particular age I was. I know I was single digits. I know I was very, very young, as I don't think I had a sister yet. Or my mum could have been pregnant, or she might just have not been with us. But I'm pretty sure at that point I was still an only child. So there's only I must have been maybe 4 or 5, because there's only about 4 years difference between me and my sister. Anyway, so I'm out with my mum and dad, and at that point we used to live in Salamander Street, which is an area fairly near Leaf Docks. Now, the area as it looked then and as it looked now, honest to God, it couldn't be more different. Back then, it was big, massive flats with gigantic kitchens and huge lounges, and basically it was like a square of flats that were all together. They were built tenement style, but they were proper flats. And they went up, I think it was about 6, maybe 8 floors. It's hard to remember because, I'm 49 and we're talking about, I've not lived there for a really stupidly long period of time. I mean, it must be at least the early 80s since I lived there. So this is a long time ago, so this is really scant memories. And basically, it was a square like that, or maybe a slightly oblong, and it went up, and all the buildings were connected together, although they weren't all connected to the stairwells. They were separate buildings, but they were all built together. You get what I mean? So it was like a block square with flats up on all 4 sides, all built together. That's what we lived in Salamander Street. And we went just a little distance, because that's just that much I do remember. And there used to be this cafe. It's the basic thing of some basic fried food, some basic treats, teas, coffees, and just coffee. This is before the whole cappuccino, latte, macchiato, espresso, all the fancy stuff. So this was just basic food. And I remember going there with my mum and dad this one time. I think we'd been there maybe before or after. There was I've got a sense of familiarity about this cafe. Now bear in mind this is really long memories, but and some of it's remembering memories, if you get what I mean. If you're a bit older than 30, you'll get what I mean. But sometimes you remember the memory rather than remembering the memory itself. It's like a copied file. It's a copy of a copy. Well, this file's been copied a few times, so forgive me if there's any discrepancies. But then I don't know if there's discrepancies because there's no record of this. Anyway, So we'd gone to this cafe, and at one part of it, there was this slick black table, and basically this was one of those, and you could look them up. It used to be these arcade machines, and there would be a table, and it could be 2 players. You had one on one side and one at the other. It did have really basic controls. You might have a joystick, or you might have movement buttons, like on an old original Space Invaders units. Original Space Invaders units didn't have a joystick. They had a left key and a right key. Okay? And then you had your fire button. So your left key, right key, fire button. Well, this, similar setup. Left key, right key, fire button. And that's because it was a 2-player tabletop Galaxian, which was basically like Space Invaders, except instead of like your ship down here and your fortifications and you're moving and shooting the alien coming down at you, it was 2 ships firing at each other, trying to hit the other and trying to knacker the defenses of the other. So, move out the way, and if you catch the other, explode. So that's what that was. But you could play it in a single player mode, which was basically the same game but without the opposing force. And I didn't know what it was called for so many years. And then I went to this thing a few years ago in the Omni Centre. Not the Omni Centre, sorry, the Ocean Terminal. Too many malls in Edinburgh. Right, went down to Ocean Terminal to do a video for a interactive games thing called Ready Player One. Not the movie. Okay, this show was called Ready Player. I say show. Basically, it was a shop that was an empty unit, and someone for a short period lease term over the summer holidays just filled it with arcade units and a couple of home systems. And you would buy a ticket and you would go in and you would play. Well, I actually, spoke to the owner online, seeing this, and contacted him about coming down and doing a piece on the thing to promote it for the channel. So I got in for nothing. I played a bunch of things. I was actually in there before anybody came around. So I did lots of good shots, getting lots of good stuff. And then I waited for crowds to show up, and then I did some crowd shots and basic YouTube comments. And it was a really good experience. And in there was one of those units. And as soon as I saw the sprites and stuff on the screen, I recognised it, and then I finally had a name for it, Galaxian. So, when I was but a tot, I played a 2-player tabletop Galaxian, and that, ladies and gentlemen of the Zen Fam, and anybody else who tunes in, was my first foray into the wonderful world of video games. And if you want to know what happened next in my video game journey, then ask away in the comment section, and if enough of yous ask, I might do a follow-up. I might tell you what happened in my video game journey after that. But then again, if you're long-term Zen fam, you probably know. Another thing, of course, you should know is to hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, nae bother.